can't take damage if you don't get shot. Simple as that. But there's honestly no way to avoid ever getting hit, but what you can do is take as little damage as possible. So let's get into it. What's up everyone, my name is Lethal, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can take less damage in zero build mode. If you enjoy this video, remember to drop a like. Obviously the big issue is that you can't build, but there are plenty of other ways you can protect yourself. It's just going to take a little bit of critical thinking and some planning ahead. Number 1. Use the Guardian Shield. The Guardian Shield is a very useful and underrated item. Unlike most other items, it doesn't take damage when it gets shot at. Instead, it has a timer that runs down when in use. It's okay in solos, but all you can do is block and then switch to a weapon. Where it really shines is in team modes. This is because one player can hold up the shield and other players can shoot through it from behind. If you hold down aim and then right trigger, you can throw the shield down, but you can't shoot through it when you do this. Although, when you throw down the Guardian Shield, it's much bigger in size than while holding it. It's also worth noting that you can use the Guardian Shield while riding on dirt bikes from either the driver or passenger seat, and from other vehicles from the passenger seats only. Number 2. Use mobility items. In zero build, mobility is everything. If you get caught out in the open with no cover, mobility items like the Shockwave Hammer, impulse grenades, and the Shockwave Bow can be the difference between turning a fight around or completely losing the game. So here are some tips on how to properly use mobility items. Starting with the Shockwave Hammer. The most recent change to hammers in Fortnite was reducing the charge from 4 to 3. This makes it a little more difficult to get away when you need to. So the best thing you can do is to always save one hammer charge in case of emergencies. That way if a player surprises you with the Deku Smash, you can quickly make a move and get out of the way. Which brings me to the next best thing, the Shockwave Bow. The strength of the Shockwave Bow is that it has many more uses than the hammer. You can use the Shockwave Bow to check bushes, launch players from behind cover, snipe enemies with the added benefit of launching them when they get hit, but most importantly to launch yourself, either towards a fight or away from danger. And it's great for quickly getting across the map or out of storm. The Shockwave Bow, when paired with the Soaring Sprints augment, can get you up to hard to reach areas that you can't get to with the hammer. Next is a very situational item in the game, and that is the Kinetic ore slabs, which mostly can be found in shattered slabs. You can use the Kinetic ore slabs to basically make one big hop in any direction. To use the Kinetic ore slab, pickaxe it until it glows purple. Then turn your camera angle to whatever direction that you want it to go. As soon as you stop pickaxing it, hop on top and go for a ride. Lastly, impulse grenades are really useful to have when you don't have a Shockwave Bow or hammer. You can carry up to 9 Shockwave grenades at a time, and they're very common. The only downside is that you will definitely take fall damage if you're not careful, because they don't give you an anti-gravity effect like the Shockwave Bow or Shockwave Hammer. Number 3. Master Advanced Movement. If you only play zero builds, it's a lot easier to have really good keybinds for movement, especially on controller. Ideally, you need to be able to jump, crouch, slide, switch weapons, and reload all without taking your thumbs off your joysticks. On keyboard and mouse, if you can keep your fingers on your movement keys, you're all set, but you do have an entire mouse for aiming, so it's not a big deal if you have a key or two that you have to use your movement fingers for. If you want to master advanced movement on a regular controller without paddles, you need to use custom controller binds. You can bind crouching and jumping to L3 and R3, or you can try learning Claw. Claw grip has a little bit of a learning curve because you'll be using a new finger for buttons that you usually press with your thumbs. A more comfortable option would be to buy a custom controller with paddles, such as an Elite controller, Scuff, Aim controller, Battle Beaver, or a DualSense Edge for PS5. If you can't afford any of these, there are even cheaper brands for under $100. By far the cheapest solution is to buy a strike pack for about $30 US. It's a controller attachment that will give you paddles, the only downside being that you will have to connect your controller via USB. After you have your keybind sorted out, it's important that you check out how really good players move. The top Fortnite players use advanced movement to the best of their ability. Things like slide jumping, slide canceling, and B-hopping are advanced movement strategies that will make you a much harder target to hit if you use them correctly. Pair these movements with mantling and mobility items and you can pull off some pretty tricky maneuvers. Number 4. Shoot from behind cover. The most obvious but underutilized strategy is to use natural cover when in a fight. This requires some pre-planning and situational awareness, but it can be as simple as standing behind a tree or rock with the right hand peek. If you don't know what right hand peek is, it's just when you stand behind cover with open space to your right. This kind of peek makes most of your character out of sight for an enemy player who is straight ahead of you. If you can help it, don't start a fight when you have no cover to hide behind, and avoid standing out in the open for too long if you can avoid it. This alone will help you to avoid so many problems. Like I said, it can be as simple as standing behind trees or rocks. The rooftops of buildings or houses also work just fine because you can peek over the edge and back up when you start getting shot at. Finally, while you're waiting for storm to close, bushes are ideal for being out of sight while still having some visibility, which brings me to my next point. Number 5. Carry porta bunkers and bush bombs. Porta bunkers and bush bombs are very important in zero builds. If you use them correctly, they can give you the advantage. So let's start with porta bunkers. If you're out in the open and start taking fire, throw one down. It won't last forever because enemies will often just shoot the walls until they break, but it often will give you enough time to heal if the enemies are far enough away, and if they are up close, it will give you some cover to play around so that you're not just taking direct fire the whole fight. In team modes, it could even buy you enough time to revive a teammate if you're quick enough. You can even throw down porta bunkers to break walls inside of buildings instead of pickaxing them. Next, use bush bombs. Depending on the augments you have, bush bombs can be extremely useful. With Bush Warrior, you basically have portable healing for you and whatever teammate that has it as well. With the Harvester augment, you can get extra health items from harvesting foliage in the game. You can also get extra bush bombs, and you get increased health from foraged items. In the case of slapberries, you get 10 HP instead of 5. Now the safest way to use a bush bomb is not directly in front of your enemies. They will simply destroy the bush. But if you just need to buy a few seconds or to create a distraction, throwing down a bush mid-fight can throw off your opponent, especially because controller players don't get aim assist inside of bushes. When running away, you can throw a bush bomb down to break an enemy's line of sight. If you know that enemies will be coming your direction, a well-placed bush bomb can give you the element of surprise. Just make sure to not be too obvious, like placing it somewhere that no bushes would normally be. Finally, if you've taken a lot of storm damage and are just getting to circle, you can use a bush bomb with Bush Warrior to heal your white health, rather than using up all your heals. Just know that Bush Warrior has received a significant nerf to its healing speed. Last but not least, you can use bush bombs at reboot vans. All in all, if you're losing a lot in games in zero builds, it's probably because you're taking too much damage in your fights. All of these tips can help you change that, as well as working on your aim. So if you haven't already, go check out a previous video on how to get better aim in Fortnite. So that's gonna wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, let me know down in the comment section. Or you can DM me on Twitter or Instagram. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.